Good afternoon and welcome everyone to today's session on the journey from legacy to cloud native success. The session is a level 100 session and today you learn more about Dimok's journey from legacy to cloud native success. It's my pleasure to welcome to stage Claudia Howlett, AWS Account Manager, Saf Abdallah, Dimok's Head of Architecture and Transformation, Isa Dalal, AWS Solution Architect. Please give them a big round of applause.
Hi everyone, my name's Claudia Howlett and I've had the privilege of being the account manager for Dimix for the past 3 years. Joining me today on stage will be Dimix Solution Architect at AWS, Isa Dalal, and Head of Transformation and Architecture, Shafak Abdallah, as we walk through our comprehensive transformation journey from legacy systems to modernized ones. Dimix is such an Australian institution. It has been woven into the fabric of many communities across Australia. Dimix is more than just a bookstore and has grown from its origins when it started back in 1879 by William Dimix. Dimix has so many complex facets as an enterprise organisation, spanning from macadamia farms to property investment to bookstores, and even the amazing work that they do in rural communities across the children's charity, enabling literacy and numeracy skills for children. Dimix is the heartbeat of what encompasses a retail store. The warmth and the excitement of going in and walking to a Dimix store just cannot be beaten. Dimix has also been woven into the fabric through communities alongside a number of franchisors providing business opportunities across Australia. Today, as we're opening the Dimix book around modernisation, we'll be going through a few chapters. We'll be looking at the challenges that they were faced as Dimix, having a legacy system in the cloud and what challenges they were looking to solve as they modernised. We'll be looking at ways in which AWS helped with the mechanisms in place to ensure their modernisation journey went smooth, and also the lessons learned and how that can be applied to your organisation. Let me jump back a little bit into the history of Dimix and AWS. Dimix was actually one of the very first retail organisations to migrate to the cloud. That showcased their ability for innovation and tech adoption. Back in 2012, before AWS even had a Sydney region, Dimix were migrating to the AWS Singapore region. Through this initial migration, it provided a great foundation for them as a retailer to be able to provide the right services for the right customers at the right time through cloud. Alongside many other organizations, there comes the challenge around legacy applications and legacy systems, and what must be done in terms of a modernization approach to ensure that you're keeping up with your customers' demands. Dimix were facing a challenge around particular legacy applications that were having to be managed 24/7 by their very talented tech team. The challenge around the technical debt, but also managing the cost of an operating system as well. Here I'd like to invite Shaf to talk us through a little bit more around the business challenges.
Thank you, Claudia. So, at Dimix, our key business objectives, or some of our key business objectives, is to make the franchise business more attractive. Also, we want to maintain a great omni-channel experience. So with that, working with the IT leadership at Dimix, we had devised a strategy to help us achieve our key business objectives by reducing our costs, doing infrastructure optimizations, but also looking at our enterprise business systems and bolster their capabilities to allow us to deliver more value faster, quicker to the Dimix group. With that IT strategy, we went to AWS and did form this partnership in order to zero in on what do we do first, second, and third. And some of these things involved, and please pay attention to this capability at AWS, it was quite refreshing, is what we call ModAX. It's going to be unpacked a little bit more by Claudia soon. So we did engage with AWS, and we did actually look at the capabilities like ModAX, And then we initiated that journey with focusing on establishing a clear scope where it's going to either allow us to reduce our infrastructure cost on AWS, or allows us to kind of modernize some of the key workloads that is going to pay dividends and return much better value for us at a business level. We went then into an execution where we did get involved with the AWS specialists and with the partner of AWS in order to prove these points. And some of the outcome, and you might see that this is a beautiful legacy train, and yes, it is a legacy system that we had for many years. It's our PIM system, and Isha is going to unpack a lot about what PIM is and what it does from a business perspective and technological perspective. But that we had our PIM system, product information management. It's such a legacy system. It worked. If you look at it and compare it to this beautiful legacy train, it was beautiful, it just worked and it did its job, but it only can take us to a certain extent. So I liken it to this legacy train because it just belongs to a museum somewhere, but it's not capable to keep up with growth that we want to achieve at Dimix, and it was costing us incremental infrastructure cost month on month. So it was north of $250,000 US per annum just to run 3 boxes that integrates with the different enterprise systems at Dimix. So basically, with that came a huge operational cost. Some of these boxes would take, I kid you not, take a full day just to reboot. We didn't want to even, we didn't want to contemplate the impact if one of these boxes went down. Patching was a horrendous operational activity for us. So the operations team did an incredible job trying to maintain this system at an incredible cost, and the consequences we had incremental tech debt growing by the day. So this monolithic application was in scope of this ModX and in scope of us trying to modernize it to pay big dividends for us moving forward. And mind you, we had a team of 3 people that looked after this, so you can imagine the stress that it's actually this operational overhead brings to the organizations, to the ICT team as well.
I'm not the first one to admit that AWS loves an acronym, so ModX, EBA, ModX framework, what does that stand for? Modernization Assessment Experience-Based Acceleration. Oof, that's a lot of mouthful to get through. ModX is a comprehensive program that AWS offers for free for its customers. And so when we first initially heard the challenge from Shaf around how they could best solve for all of these modernization challenges, AWS provides a framework to help you break it down into really easy bite-sized chunks, help and enable your team to understand these concepts around modernization, and give you a fast-tracked approach to be able to put this in practice for more future applications and modernization projects to come. Initially is the assessment phase. Assessment phase will test things like viability, it will test things around business outcomes, it will test things such as technical debt, and what a modern application will be looking like from that perspective. From there, in agreement with Dimix, we decided to land on a particular application, the PIM, the Product Information Management System, and we were able to design and architect a solution for them and come together across a 3-day workshop to ensure that their team had the right specialists from AWS at the right time, at the right place. So ModX was a perfect example of how AWS can help and support your team on a modernization journey to level up the skills and ensure that this repeatable process can be ingrained within the culture.
Okay, so we've heard about ModX and EBA, and to me, one of the most refreshing things is that bringing the key stakeholders on this journey from Dimix, the people who look after the system, and also business representation in order to unpack that and look at ways to kind of look at how we turn this from a Genesis legacy system to a modernized commodity built on modern infrastructure and modern architecture that we can consume moving forward. So as part of that, we had to pick something that we can prove and derive a proof of value as part of that. So that was over the course of 2 days. And we did establish that PIM, while the risk is too high, the rewards are worth the challenge. And it is a commercial off-the-shelf product, so we couldn't get to the DNA or to the code of this product. So we had to actually put it to the side and say, using AWS native services, how do we transform and how we can move to actually try to, again, align with our IT strategy, which is in this case reducing the cost and modernize the application. So we did focus on the PIM architecture for 2 days, and the last day we spent it just validating that we can achieve the value that we set out for ourselves, which is the cost savings and the infrastructure cost savings.
Scenes of how Demix, a legacy brand, has turned its page, reinventing product information management, which is the PIM, using AWS serverless technology. Demix, as Claudia and Chef has mentioned, is a heritage brand. Everyone loves it, but how did they get from the digital perspective future ready? Demix has 40 million SKUs, which means huge amount of data. Amount of data that's really important to curate, qualify, and make sure that all the systems across the technology are integrated in a way that they get up-to-date information. But before we go and dive deep into how Demix solved that challenge, I want to talk about this PIM technology. What is PIM? For our non-retailers to know, PIM is product information management. It is the heart of all the product catalog. It's where we centrally store, manage, enrich, qualify all the product catalog information. For a bookstore, think about the book title, the number of pages, who's the author, what's the pricing, what's the ISBN. All that information that they gets stored at a centralized place so that all the other applications across the business can get that up-to-date information. What's the value of PIM that they get? Do you know that 87% of consumers, if they find inaccurate information, it's a big impact on the brand. They don't go to that brand again. And it's very important to build that trust, to build that accurate information across your different channels. Omni-channel experience is a key priority for all the retailers. And PIM plays a very critical role in making sure that the data is up-to-date across all the channels, which means not only storing it at the centralized place, but also making sure the quality of data is there. There is an ability to enrich that value across different channels, and a centralized workflow which allows the data to flow from different systems. For an example, if Demix wants to launch a new book, or any other retailer wants to launch a new product, they want to make sure that up-to-date information is available across those channels. And PIM is the system which allows to do that. So how does Demix did it? This is a very simple logical architecture, what it looks like at Demix. They get a lot of data from multiple suppliers in a form of files, and that contains lot of books information. All those information gets stored centrally at PIM. Earlier, they were using EC2 instances to store all those information. And from the PIM, all their other internal systems like e-commerce, POS system, advanced analytics, and data warehouse connected to it. A small mistake or not up-to-date accurate information in PIM system impact all those other business operations. Sometimes if PIM goes down, because it's a centralized operation, if it goes down, it impacts the whole business operation. So how do we solve it? How do we move from those legacy technology to more serverless technology so that they can innovate more on that. So how we solved it is, we first understood, okay, we know how the data is flowing in your system, we know you're getting files. How do you move those files securely to AWS environment? So we use AWS Transfer Family to securely transfer files to AWS environment in S3 buckets over SFTP channels. And from there, because it's all coming to S3 buckets, we use ETL jobs to not only put some quality mechanisms to make sure whatever data the suppliers are sending, we put some controls on that the names are right, the format is right, they're not sending XML or numeric or name or something. So all those data quality checks has been maintained in Glue. There was a unique request from Demix in terms of they want their business teams or the supply or the business operations to have a human loop or a human review on the product catalog. They want to make changes if required, because sometimes there are changes that is not captured by the data quality rules. That needs a human intervention. So what we used was AWS Data It allows them to interact into a tabular format, create their own rules, and put more additional controls on top of the existing data, so that they can put up-to-date information as well. Once the data qualities and everything is there, the team also use Athena to query the data in SQL formats, because they are more comfortable using that to extract the data from S3 buckets. Now we have a better qualified data. We also know that the data is ready to be used by the business operation. It allows connectivity to those systems. For the existing ecosystem, so there's no change in terms of the other systems they were using. The data was already sitting into the S3 buckets, so it makes the whole transition process easy. So how can you and other retailers leverage or learn from the journey from Demix? I know not everyone is getting data in terms of files. They might be getting data from databases. They might be getting data from social media feeds. There could be different data sources. At AWS, we have different patterns for different services for ingestion patterns. And not one or all would suit you. It's a matter of what fits for you. And once you understand that what type of data you are bringing in and what is the right service or right pattern for you to bring the data, we move the data to a centralized data lake or unified data lake house, where you can put the data into a secure place and provide the right centralized control mechanisms who can access data to for how long you want to keep the data. You can put your archive or your lifecycle policies on the S3 buckets as well. And then you can put your ETL jobs to make sure that the data quality mechanisms and any other business rules that you want to put on those data, you put that using AWS Glue and Data. There are multiple analytics services that's available at AWS platform, something like QuickSight, which is more of a visualization layer, which you can use to then create some more reports or how the data, where's the data coming from, because it's not just, PIM doesn't only contain product information, it also contains inventory levels. So you can create your reports around those data, whatever the business wants to use. And then the Redshift, which is a data warehouse service at AWS. And that allows you to move those data or connect those data using simple API calls to your other data consumers. This is not the only list of data consumers that you can use. There's heaps of them based on your organization and the services that you are using. I want to take a step forward from there, that what else you can do is using the new, not new, but lot hype and talk about it, is the AI/ML. Product information management is the heart and it is the conductor of the orchestra. It is making sure that everything, all the processes are singing in the same harmony. You can use the same data to create more business value. As an example, you can create creative content creation. You can create better omni-channel experiences. And you can create more forecasting. And there's heaps of AI use cases. which you can build from this data. And AWS has services like Amazon SageMaker and Bedrock. You might have heard of these two services at Summit in a lot of sessions. These are services that you can use to build on your AI use cases. So that's a bit about how you can build yourself within your organization for a PIM architecture on a serverless platform using AWS services. I'll ask Shaf to continue those conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Isha. So we talked a lot about this legacy system and the cost, but what's special about that? I just want to highlight the point that we manage 40 million plus products in our PIM system. If you look at that, that's not a walk in the park just to fathom how do you move away from such system, legacy system, to a modern system. So with AWS, we were able to modernize it. We were able to move from this legacy to something that not only allow us to reduce our infrastructure cost, but also give us more capabilities that I'm going to touch on in a little bit. But the key thing is we were able to reduce 90% of our infrastructure cost with AWS native services, and a little bit more. And I'm not counting in the cost of maintenance and licenses that we didn't have to pay for going forward, and not counting in the operational overhead that came with the legacy system. So we were able to streamline our infrastructure operations. We were able to uplift our business capabilities as well. We wanted to ship more products to our omni-channel bricks and mortar stores and our website. So we were able to actually ship every 30 minutes for product information, and every hour product pricing changes and product availability changes across the millions of products. Previously, we were only able to do that once a day with that exorbitant cost that we were sustaining month on month, year on year. And also we got uplift in our technological capabilities with how we do data hygienes and data management overall. So the ICT team as well, one of the most amazing things that I'm privileged to be part of the journey is look at the ICT team and having the time now to innovate and gain that time back to drive things with automation and drive the operations modernizations at Dimix, which is the most refreshing value that we delivered as part of unshackling them from these operational overheads and complexities with the PIM system. And one of the most amazing things is that we did calculate if we want to go from 40 million products to 80 million products, it's going to cost us $2 extra per month. I kid you not, for the S3 storage. So it's incredible just to think about the capabilities and the opportunities that lay ahead. So what's next for us is that we are building on this capability in order to align with the next phase of transformation, and something as part of our IT strategies we're calling a store of the future. So we want to make sure that this is alignment. We capitalize on that in order to bolster our store of the future capabilities soon. And then obviously one of the key things that is at hand now that was quite complex before is from an omni-channel perspective, being compliant with our duties towards our franchisees to keep the same price on the web and in the stores. So that's something that we can do much easier now and a lot more frictionless as it is today. But one thing that is, if I try to give you a bit of a little homework, if you want to embark on such journey, so beyond the technicalities, beyond the solution architecture, you need to be very clear about your operating model. You need to understand that with AWS native services, how do you keep observability and how do you handle this modern infrastructure to keep on top of your workload that you're introducing or your business service that you're introducing into the environment. You also need to be clear on your service architecture. Who's going to handle, who's going to respond to that ticket when things don't work? So service architecture is going to be very important. So if you don't already have that in the environment, you need to think it through, or you need to work with your partners to understand how the new world is going to operate. You also need to be conscious what you're shifting left from an infrastructure perspective and what you're shifting right with your data engineering capabilities. That's very, very important in order to build that as part of your business case. As you can imagine here, we have a lot of these capabilities. It will sit within Dimix, within our data engineering team. It's quite important to know that. Also, impact on business users that are the consumers of these services in order to manage within the catalog. You need to understand what the trade-offs are. And there will be a lot of trade-offs. It's risk versus reward, but also functionality versus reward. And you need to be very clear with that as part of your business case. And then finally, it's not done. You're never done. This is part of a continuous improvement. So you always need to make sure that this capability is up to date and it's aligned with your business aspirations moving forward.
Thank you, Chef. As we come to the conclusion of the Dimix book around the modernization journey, I want to leave you with a few key takeaways. Don't feel like you are alone in the modernization journey. Yes, it can be daunting making decisions around which application to do first, how you can deliver the right outcome, where do we have the biggest cost savings here. That is what the Modernization Assessment Program is here to help you define. So as a key takeaway, please reach out to your AWS account team to see how you can get started on ModX and start your own journey, and maybe we can see a chapter of your book up on here stage next year. Thanks everyone.